One year at SF Sketchfest, which is I don't know, have you guys done Sketchfest before?
No, well, it's fine. We're not. It's weird because we're this.
Not as a sketch group, but they have panels of shows go up there.
Oh, I see.
The word sketch is a little. It's kind of a misnomer. There are sketch groups and improv groups, but there's also stand-up and panels and music shows and whatnot.
No, I don't think we've ever been invited to that.
Devito went up there one year and did something with James L. Brooks, and it was some sort of I don't know if it was quite like a Cheers reunion, but there was a handful of people up there, and apparently no one recorded it, but apparently he told the greatest fucking stories because he had no filter about anything. Like he just...
That sounds about right.
And the stories were apparently mind-blowingly amazing, and there's no record of it anywhere.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's... Well, he definitely has no filter. It's always good to have a mic turned on when that guy's around. You might get some... But you got to wade through a lot of...
You need a good editor.
Yeah, you need a good editor. It's like you're gonna have to. There's gonna be a lot of fat, and then there's gonna be a lot of fat and gristle, and then you might find a nice little nugget of filet mignon in there somewhere.
There's a lot of marbling. You have to get
sort of like his body.
It adds flavor, but then it's not all edible.
Yeah, not as Rob said, not unlike his physical body.
Were you? I think he'd be great on the grill. Like I think some DeVito steaks would be pretty good.
I don't know. It might be a little tough.
No, he gets massages once a week.
Oh yeah. Does he stay hydrated?
No, well, with vodka. Chopin, baby.
Potato fed.
The man's 70.
That's unbelievable.
70. No, what's unbelievable is if you come out and hang out with us on a Friday or Saturday night with him, and then you see what a 70-year-old man can do. That's what's unbelievable.
Great, we'll be there. Right, Jonah?
Yeah,
sure. Go.
Really, he will. I don't think I've ever stayed. Well, no, he will. He can tie it on and stay out later than any of us.
I've been at Coachella with him a couple of times, and it's mind blowing how a human being can take that heat and just the sheer length of the day. Mm-hmm. Coupled with whatever it is that he's putting into his body, and every different. He loves music, all different kinds of music, and he'll go to the tents. He'll go to the sideshow carnival freak type stuff. He's into it. I mean, he's something to aspire to. Certainly, not with regard to the things he puts inside his body, but with regards to his, as a 70-year-old man, he's still exploring life. You know what I mean? Like he still finds fresh and new things interesting. He's constantly exploring, constantly searching for what's his next project going to be, and he stays in touch with what's going on.
That can keep you young.
That's what he does, and that's how he stays relevant.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's why he's transcended, the last 3 generations of television viewer, because kids know who he is, and your parents know who he is, your grandparents know who he is.
Yeah, and he's got, he uses his kids as a gauge for that, because he's got 3 kids in their 20s. I think one's now in her 30s, but. And he I mean, actually, I think was it them or was it John that turned him on to our show?
Yeah, it was the kids.
Yeah, his kids watched our show. So when we approached him about the show, he knew about the show because his kids were fans of it. I don't think he ever would have done it if it hadn't been for that. Oh, wow.
And were you initially? Was there any sort of comedy intimidation at all, or were you immediately like?
We didn't want to do it.
Really?
Yeah, no, we got forced into it. I mean, in the beginning, we had a show without him. The first season was without Danny, and then nobody watched it. And so John Landgraf, who's the president of FX, he called me in for a meeting and was like, hey, no one's watching the show, but we love it. We want to keep it on. But we don't have any money for marketing, and we need to add somebody with some panache that we can hopefully parlay into some public relations story, just so we can get people talking. So we were really reticent, to add anything to the chemistry, that might destroy the chemistry of the show. And they started knocking around different names, and Danny's name came up, and we were like, well, I guess that kind of makes sense.
And Ted McGinley, I'm sure. Was
Well, it's not that we were reticent to the idea of adding Danny to the show. It was that we were reticent.
Specific to Danny.
Yeah, it was that we were reticent to add a name to the show. Because we kind of liked that we were no names and that it was this weird small thing,
And you also don't want it to be all of a sudden that guy's show.
Yeah,
right. You've built this thing. Yes. It's like, oh, well, now it's the Danny Devito show or the whoever else comes in, and now we got to write for that guy. And then
you don't want to add in Poochie.
Yeah.
And he was, and I remember our first reaction was like, no, I don't think we want to. I don't think we want to do that. And they were like, oh, okay, well then, the show's over, and we were like, well,
I mean, we'll consider it.
DeVito,
huh?
Yeah, we do. We would. So then Danny's name got brought up, and I went over to his house and talked with him, and he was exactly who you imagined him to be. He was great.
Yeah, I mean, as in terms of the kind of names that were being thrown around, Danny was perfect because he's one of those guys. He's made a career out of playing. Not that he played only despicable characters. He's played a shitload of despicable characters, and our characters are kind of despicable, but we like to think that they're lovable in their own way. And Danny's one of those guys. A very unique career of a man who's played so many despicable people, and yet everywhere he goes, you'd think that he always played the happy uncle or dad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people love that guy, but I think it's because they do love despicable characters. But he's such a lovable, likable person that I think you sense the warmth and likability underneath all of the despicableness. Yeah. And that's why people like him so much, besides the fact that he's really fun size. People like fun size things, you know what I mean? What would you eat? Would you eat a Snickers bar? Would you eat 3 fun size Snickers
I mean,
bars?
that right there, that's 3 times the fun.
I think that's how Danny's agent talks to.
Yeah,
That's how he negotiates.
It doesn't take up much space. Come on,
Yeah.
Instead of a trailer, you can set up a Mini Cooper and then
right.
just put a toilet in it, and it'll be fine.
The irony being that his trailer is by far the biggest.
Of course it is.
I think he's earned that. He's 70.
He's earned
yeah,
it.
he's
earned that.
He's absolutely earned that.
But he bought it. He bought it for. Wasn't War of the Roses. It was.
Ruthless
not?
People?
No.
It was later in his career, then. Right?
No, it was earlier. What was the one he did with Michael Douglas that you love?
Romancing the Stone.
Romancing the Stone.
Yeah, it was for Romancing the Stone.
So it's
That's
pretty
how
smart.
old this
Early.
thing is.
It's pretty smart, though, because what he does, he bought the trailer, but then he charges the productions that he does.
rent
like,
it.
To
Yeah,
rent
to
it
rent
from
it.
him.
Yeah.
So he's paid that. He's paid for it. You know what I mean?
But the problem is,
Great idea.
I'm telling you, man, there's so much money to be made from chargebacks because you just go, well, you're going to rent this from someone else anyway.
That's right.
So you kind of give them a little bit better of a deal. It's a genius. It's
we
a genius
figured
thing to
that
do.
out a few seasons ago.
Yeah, we're working on that.
But yeah, here's the downside. Danny's trailer, since it was bought in 1984, it was built in 1983, and I don't think it's been updated since.
It's posters of Heather Thomas inside.
Yeah.
It looks pretty good for a trailer that old.
When was the last time you were in there?
Well, every
It
season.
has a VHS.
What? That's cool in its own way.